So welcome back to part 2 of our 2-part series on the 3 selves. Before we go ahead and jump into the content that I know you are dying to hear, go ahead and make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give my video a thumbs up, and then also hit the notification bell so that you can stay in the loop. Okay, let's get it. Now, the next self, the third self, is self-motivation and self-empowerment. This is my favorite self because it literally boils down to loving yourself, loving who you are, and being your biggest cheerleader, because nobody's going to love you like you should love you. Nobody's ever going to be you. You're you. Well, something that goes into this self is you should never want to be micromanaged by somebody else. And by micromanaged, if you're basically, have this goal that you're setting out to do, you never want somebody else to be tapping you on the shoulder. Hey, have you done this? Have you gotten this done to achieve that goal? Hey, what about this? What about that? You don't want anybody else to be all up in your Kool-Aid and having to constantly micromanage and remind you. You should basically set this expectation that, look, I'm accountable to myself. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to have follow through. But this isn't something that happens overnight. Like I said, this is a skill set that is constantly being refined, that is constantly, in the works of becoming better and becoming more second nature. Let's say I have this giant paper that I have to write by the end of the week, this English paper. And I know, okay, I'm going to have X amount of hours on Monday, X amount of hours on Tuesday, X amount of hours on Wednesday, X amount of hours on Thursday, and it's due at 8 a.m. on Friday. So I know I have this deadline. I know I have this long-term goal that I'm trying to meet, which is submitting the paper. So in the meantime, I'm going to set these mini benchmarks for myself. On, it's a 600-word paper. So on Monday, I'm going to write 200 words. On Tuesday, I'm going to write another 200 words. Wednesday, I'm going to write my final 200 words. And Thursday, I'm going to take that time to proofread my paper and also maybe share it with some of my peers to get some edits, get some feedback before I turn in my paper. So setting those mini benchmarks and holding yourself accountable and motivating yourself to reach those benchmarks is how you can prevent yourself from being micromanaged by somebody else. So you're technically just micromanaging yourself. What I encourage you to do is when you have those mini benchmarks and you say, okay, today's Monday, I'm going to do my 200 words. Okay, 200 words seems really overwhelming right now. I'm going to write for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to take a break for 5 minutes and maybe look at my phone or answer some emails. And then I'm going to, write some more for another 20 minutes. And then I'm going to take another break, and just making sure that you're keeping yourself motivated by kind of breaking up those tasks with little things in between that maybe make you happy. So kind of breaking that up and having those little benchmarks really helps with that self-motivation aspect of achieving a goal. Another thing that kind of goes into self-empowerment and self-motivation is not being afraid to give yourself a pep talk. I can't tell you how many times before a soccer game or before a test, I'm like, okay, Mackenzie, you got this. You're good at what you do. You know you're capable. You know you studied, or you know you practiced your drills for soccer. You're an incredible person, and let's just go make it happen. And so you shouldn't be afraid to do that same thing. Giving yourself a pat on the back and saying, yeah, I'm pretty great, because that kind of goes back to being your biggest cheerleader and, constantly keeping yourself motivated. The other thing is, I think it is so important that you have this understanding of your self-worth. So many people take for granted how important and how awesome they are. And the bottom line is you are so incredible, so unique, and you can't just listen to me. You have to listen to your own inner voice and wholeheartedly believing that, because what that's going to allow you to do is when you ever encounter haters, because trust me, there are going to be so many people who try to hold you down, who want to figure out a way to discount your success, who are going to want to discourage you, who are going to be jealous. There are going to be so many haters. And if you have an understanding of your self-worth, all those insults, all those hateful comments, all those things that try to hold you back or discourage you, they're just going to roll off you like water rolls off a duck. They're going to leave you unaffected. They're going to leave you unbothered, because you're like, I know who I am. I have enough self-awareness that I know that what you're saying is just coming from a place of malice, and I am not going to allow you to make me feel any different about who I am. The last thing that goes into self-motivation and self-empowerment is not being afraid to treat yourself. And what I mean by that is when you accomplish a goal that you set out to do, say, I did that, and now I am going to reward myself for my hard work, for following through on all those little mini benchmarks that I set, for sticking to my timetable of achieving that task. I'm going to reward myself. Maybe that means I'm going to treat myself to a movie. Maybe that means I'm going to go out with my friend for the weekend. Whatever that means, but not being afraid to reward yourself. Be like, I'm really proud of myself. And what that is going to enable is that you're going to like that feeling of treating yourself. Whenever you accomplish something big and you give yourself kudos, you're gonna feel like, man, I'm on top of the world right now. And you're gonna want that feeling of pure euphoria running through your veins when you're really, really proud of yourself. And that's gonna just encourage you and motivate you and empower you to continue doing big things, continue doing things that are gonna lead to you having that feeling of euphoria once again. So just to kind of reiterate those three selves, self-accountability, self-discipline, and then self-motivation and self-empowerment, which kind of go hand in hand. Being committed starting today to those three selves, I promise you, is going to enable you to achieve and be so successful in both your life and school, because there is, whether you know it or not at the moment, there really is something so rejuvenating, something so satisfying about reporting to no one else but yourself, being your own boss. And the bottom line is you should be your own worst critic and your biggest cheerleader. That's the responsibility that you have to yourself. And when you keep tabs on your personal progress and when you are self-accountable, or when you turn the heat up on yourself when you're falling by the wayside, or when you basically give yourself that pat on the back when you're just soaring with flying colors, that right there is going to guarantee that you see increased productivity in your life, because what's going to happen is you and only you are going to finally hold that power, hold that key to your success. And on that note, I want to say, please go ahead, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and then also hit the notification bell, and I will make sure to see you in the next video. Bye!